Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show, everyone. Welcome to, what is it, Tuesday?
Yep, Tuesday.
Wednesday.
It's Tuesday.
Oh,
it's
Tuesday.
Wednesday. It's Tuesday.
Say, what is it?
We're just a bunch of summer vacation guys. It's Tuesday. It's Wednesday. Yes. And it's Purushottama. It's just like you have leap year. In the solar calendar, there's a leap year.
Yeah.
Every 4 years, it's a leap month that starts today. It's called Purushottama, and it's a very auspicious month.
Kind of still a leap year, because when we say leap year, it's not like a whole year gets thrown in there. It's just like one day in that particular year, right? But now we're sticking an entire month in.
Yeah. There's some interesting way if you actually analyze how they calculate time with the lunar and solar calendar. It never comes out perfectly to 365 days. So you have to add in a leap day, or in this case, a leap. I don't know how they add the leap month. I don't quite understand how that works. There's an extra month.
Kind of straightens everything out.
It straightens everything out. Maybe it straightens it out for 4 years. But then why would we only add a day?
Well, because the sun and the moon are doing very different things.
Okay.
Yeah,
but it seems like one of the calendars should be way ahead of the other, and it's not.
Well, that's how they straighten it out, because
we're gonna have to ask the spiritual scientist. Let's get him back on.
Get some astrologer.
Yeah. You know what? We should ask Drew or Radikesh.
Yeah,
all right. Anyway, happy Purushottama. Happy Tuesday.
But let's mention this Purushottama then. It said that the Kartik month, which comes like a little bit later in the year, in the fall.
Yeah.
And again, it shifts a little bit again because it's on the lunar calendar rather than the solar calendar. You know, that might bounce back and forth if, you know, maybe a few weeks earlier 1 year and a few weeks later the next year, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
But that month of Kartik, which will be coming late this year because we're sticking this entire month in.
Yeah.
But,
yes.
But that's, you know, incredibly auspicious for practicing bhakti. It's like it said that, you know, you focus in that month, and it says that the results that you achieve, if your heart is in the right place and you're trying, they're like multiplied, like
it's like double coupons.
1,000. No, not double. It's like 1,000.
It's like 1,000. Imagine if you go, hey, I've got a coupon for these, you know, for the broccoli. You get a big box of broccoli. You don't get a coupon. You don't get 10% off of broccoli. We're going to give you a truckload of broccoli. That's what's going on right now in bhakti. It's said special month for you guys to practice bhakti.
The Purushottama, the month of Purushottama, which begins today, and I believe it ends on August 19th. This is like the Kartik month multiplied many times, so it's like a really rare and auspicious.
Why don't you pull up some interesting fun facts of Purushottama Mara while we're talking, then I'll read some off. There's a lot of fun facts with it.
Okay.
But anyway, this is a great chance for us to, like, you know, every now and then the Vedic calendar just gives you like these little perks, these little coupons these little buy one get one free type of things, and this is it for us. We got the whole month for it. So is to entice us and give us a little extra magic in our day.
And at least what I'm going to do is my plan is to excuse me, is to read this is commonly done, right? That you read the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Purushottama Yoga, right? The yoga of the supreme person. So you read that. It's a short chapter, it's like 20 verses.
20 verses, yeah.
Read it every day. Chant it.
That's a great one.
That's what I'm going to do.
Want to do that, Mara? Mara says yes. Okay, we're going to do it too. How about that?
Excellent.
We take a little vow for this month, people.
Little vow. Take a vow.
Little vow. 20 verses is quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even if you just read the English, it's, it's
read the English.
It's like, what, like 6 minutes to read it or something like that.
Yeah, we can do that. Okay, if you're going to commit to that, Sanskrit. Put your name on the message board, Zoomers.
People are coming in on it.
All right, Ramit Pandit's in. I got news for you, Ramit Pandit. You are our guest on Walk on Wednesday tomorrow.
Pamela's in.
Okay. This is looking good.
Oh, they're just pouring in. I can't keep up with them. All right, this is great.
All right. Every 3 years when Purushottama month arrives, bhajans and prayers for the Lord are organized at various places. Any auspicious task done in this month brings results manifold. The period of Purushottama or Adimas is said to be the best time for pursuing religious activities and good karma. Okay. The ritual of reciting Bhagavad Gita, that's what we're doing right now, at the time of Purushottama month is said to be the best. At this time, conducting puja in the evening and lighting lamps is also considered very auspicious. Okay. A ghee lamp should be regularly lit in front of the Lord Vishnu throughout this month. One must recite Lord Vishnu's name and relevant mantras while lighting this lamp. Anyway.
Just chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, light the lamp. That'll do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Alrighty.
There we go.
Yep.
Everybody's in.
All right. Any other announcements?
Mara?
We're back to recovery group meetings today. The men meet at noon and the women meet at 2:00.
Okay.
Our Kirtan Academy for January is up. Go to raghunath.yoga and you'll check it out. Did you put up the Wisdom of the Sages retreat in India?
You see, that's so confusing. Your branding, Raghunath. Because if you say there was, because
wisdom training.
The wisdom training. Yeah.
By Wisdom of the Sages.
It's not up yet. I'll post something like on my Instagram. Maybe I'll just do it today just to at least get the dates and the basic information there. The registration won't quite be ready yet. Maybe today, who knows?
All right. Me and Kastuba aren't the most computer and website building savvy people, but in our busy schedule, we just somehow try to knock it out as well.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive into our nugget today.
Which we meant to do yesterday.
Which we were meant to do yesterday. We got taken back by Charles Bukowski. We appreciated that one. But here's today's. It's by Henri Bergson. We gave you his bio yesterday, so we're going to skip it today. Let's just skip it. He's an important French guy. That's all we're going to say. Important French guy. He was right up there with Napoleon. Okay. Fortunately, some are born with spiritual.
Slow down. You're going to buzz through this.
Fortunately, some are born with spiritual immune systems.
Okay.
Sooner or later, give rejection to the world, to the illusory worldview grafted upon them from birth through social conditioning.
Okay, interesting. Right.
Interesting way to put it.
Because like when you graft, sometimes they do a skin graft or some kind of graft.
It doesn't. Your body doesn't accept it; it rejects it, right?
Yeah. So he's saying
some are born with spiritual immune systems that sooner or later give rejection to the illusory worldview.
If you're listening to this podcast, it is likely you're one of those people.
Yeah, you're like, you know what? No, not what you're offering. I want something different. I need a better way.
Yeah.
Your idea of success, I detest. I say, forget it. Shelter song.
Okay.
Your idea of success. What are the
Please
words? Your
continue.
idea of success is always a test.
So some people are going to reject social conditioning that's coming at us.
Yep. Continuing on.
They begin.
They begin sensing that something is amiss and start looking for answers. Inner knowledge and anomalous outer experiences show them a side of reality others are oblivious to. And so begins their journey of awakening. Each step of the journey is made by following the heart instead of following the crowd, and by choosing knowledge over the veils of ignorance. Boo, 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 boo. I'm really facing off with some of this stuff as a parent.
Oh.
Yeah, as a parent, you're always trying to like prod and encourage and surround your home with, in hopes that the kids like take to their own spiritual practice. Then a kid goes through puberty and their karma sets in. That's when their karma really sets in, as they go through puberty. When they're little, they're completely dependent, and they're sort of like an affection a parent gets, like, when the kids were little, because they're so dependent on you. It's like you're their God, and it's almost for your own ego that you feel like, yeah, look at me, I'm so powerful. And then once they've developed their own independence, things get uglier, and oftentimes they have to go through this themselves. They have to go through this God search. They have to get to the point of, you know what, I'm also going to reject this, and I'm going to eject this illusory worldview, or I have to begin sensing that something is amiss and start looking for answers. They have to go through this following the heart instead of following the crowd. And you know what? Some people are just not ripe enough to do it. They're not ripe enough to do it. And, truthfully, that this is where, like in the 12-step program, they have the 12th step where you're actually reaching out and you're trying to encourage others. What we're trying to do with the podcast, you're actually extending ourselves, or what people do, what you did for years, distributing Bhagavad Gitas, or what I would do through music and lyrics, or what some of you guys do through your own little sangha. You have a regular get together where that attracts people who are on the precipice of some spiritual awakening. That reaching out to other people, it assists them on their journey. Because there are people who just like, they're walking in line, but every now and then when the material world fails to deliver, they need some spiritual answers, and they're going to need your sangha. They're going to need your group. They're going to need your podcast. They're going to need your songs or your art or however else you share bhakti. And so, yeah, I'm like facing off with this in my own life. I'm trying to think of like how to assist your kids on their bhakti path, and also sort of like how little control we have also, that everybody has to fly their own plane ultimately, and we don't have that much control of that. We can create an environment, and but ultimately we don't have control of other people. All I can do is control my own spiritual path and worry about that more than anything.
Yeah,
that's my realization today, Mr. Kastuba.
Okay. I just thought when I read this, I just thought that this is, as a big family of Wisdom of the Sages people and listeners and so on, probably all kind of can identify a bit with what he's saying here. And just how, just how fortunate it is, I suppose, when it comes to choosing knowledge over the veils of ignorance, and that means, like, our understanding of that is, it doesn't just mean like you get informed and you're done, but it's like a cultivation of that knowledge, right? Not just the theoretical, but reflecting on that knowledge, making that knowledge, inviting that knowledge into your life, engaging with that knowledge in your life as an attempt or as a practice of it changing your entire worldview, of it elevating you, of it purifying you, of it as part of your evolution, right? The community helps when you have that, because it's saying here, well, I'm not going to go with the crowd, but then ultimately you need some support. So when you come across like this month reading Bhagavad Gita, You know what? Have you noticed that there's this big movie out now and about
Which one?
Oppenheimer?
Oh, Oppenheimer.
It's a
Yeah.
big deal. Like,
What's it about? I don't know.
I
I
guess it's
don't.
about the life of Oppenheimer,
Of
the
Oppenheimer, the
scientist.
guy who built
Yeah,
the
but
atom bomb.
yeah, so I really I know almost nothing about the film, but it seems like it's got the right stars and it's like somehow it's like the big thing right now.
Sure.
But
He's the famous one that quoted the Bhagavad Gita.
he quoted the Bhagavad Gita, and so the actor who's starring as him in the film as part of his process of, you know, taking on that character, he read the Bhagavad Gita.
Uh-huh.
And he said it was a beautiful read, and I really needed it. Like he said something like, you know, it was something that I really needed at this point in my life. It gave me, you know, so you know how fortunate we are to have that Gita. How fortunate we are to be able to learn it in the coming down in a chain of teachers, you know, who represent it and help us understand how it applies, you know, in the modern age.
Mm.
And you know, I just think it's great that we have a community here where we can just like choose that knowledge over the veils of ignorance. It's a relief, you know. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful process.
And getting it in, of course, like you were saying, in the chain of disciplic succession is so important because there's a context behind it. You're not just like pulling it off your bookshelf and just reading it like any other book. It has a context to a whole greater culture.
Yeah.
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 All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Henry.
Now let's I don't know if we can do it today, but soon we should be wrapping up this next chapter with Bhagavatam.
Can you pull this up? Okay. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat. Before starting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan. To Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Priyeshva Badreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Utamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Midatam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Reading. It's a reading today.
Yeah, we're reading. Yeah, well, you know, I'm looking here at the Zoom thing, and when I see Freya Ferre Rooney over there, I get the impression maybe she's at work and she's got these headphones on and nobody knows that she's listening.
No one knows, and she's getting paid for this. She's getting paid.
I'm right. I think I'm right. Doesn't look like she's not. That doesn't look like she's at home, right? And she's got the special headphones on. I think other people think she's not even plugged into this.
You know what I was thinking when I was chanting those mantras? I was thinking we have a process of doing the same thing every day, yet not being rote. Can you do the same thing every day? Chant your japa, read the Bhagavatam. When you do the same thing every day, after a while, it just becomes ritualistic. Can you do the same thing every day, but have it be substantial every day? That's our work, Prabhu. What do you think about that?
That's what we got to do. That's how it should be. If it's a little rote in the beginning, hang in there and seek the Sangha.
Seek the Sangha.
Seek the Sangha that's going to help you keep it fresh, keep it alive. You know, I remember, you know, you and I lived in temples for years.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's kind of a standard morning program that goes on for about, well, what, you know, let's say it starts at 4:30 and goes till about 8:30 or 9.
Hours.
And you sing the same songs and
same songs, same melodies.
You know,
sometimes the same singer.
And sometimes it's so dead. It's like, oh my God, is everybody in here just like?
But first of all, it's up in the morning. So everyone's, if you're not with a bunch of morning people, it's like, but there's a but in there.
What? If you're not with a bunch of morning people?
Well, no. You're about to say like it's so dead. You're not going to end it there.
No, I thought you were picking it up. I'm sorry. So yeah, so sometimes that you could see that it's just like this has become very dry, you know, and you're
Right.
rattling off like memorized stuff. Everybody's sitting there just like, you know, time to make the donuts kind of like thing, you know, it's just like, um, but then there's other times where like it's all alive, you know,
Yeah.
like everybody's feeling it. They're doing the exact same thing, singing the exact same songs, but there's something that's fresh about it. And I suppose it has a lot to do with the time outside of that, of those hours that you know, and
That's a
honestly,
great way to put it.
yeah,
Your time outside those
those
times where we're doing things in repetition, you bring that into the repetition. Then those prayers become alive. You're not just
yeah.
saying them without even mindlessly repeating mantras and English translations of those mantras.
Oh, yeah. And you know, often it just takes one person that it's alive in to just to ignite it in
Set it
everybody
off.
else. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we got to cling to people that can do that for us, really value them,
I like that.
look for them. Yeah.
All right. That
All right.
is good. So we're on Canto 5, Chapter 19, Text 20.
I got to pull it. What is, how to pull this up?
How's your new computer doing?
Same as the old one. More or less
I'm
the
hoping
same,
there'll be
but,
something more exciting
it's
about it.
something, it's supposed to be a little bit faster or something, but it's more or less the same computer. Worked out good. You know, I got like half of the value back on the other one.
All
And,
right.
yeah, I'm up and going now.
All right. After many, many births, when the results of one pious activities.
Could we do something? Could we just briefly go back to yesterday's verse? Because I don't think we
19?
ever. Yeah, I don't think we ever really discussed it. There's something I want to share on that in any case.
Okay. The people who take birth in this tract of land are divided according to the qualities of material nature, the modes of goodness, sattva guna, passion, rajo guna, ignorance, tamo guna. Some of them are born as exalted personalities, and some are ordinary human beings. Some are extremely abominable.
Oh,
Right? We were talking about this yesterday.
nasty people.
For in Bart Varsh, one takes birth exactly according to one's past karma, right? We were saying how people come into this life not randomly. We've been practicing behavior. We've been practicing our piety. We've been practicing our education. We've been practicing our musical or artistic abilities. We've been practicing engineering or mathematics, and we call them proclivities. Oh, my son has a proclivity towards this or that. But they're actually practices that people come into from previous life. And they can also be addictive, violent, rageful. Here's one for you. Here's one for your Google search, Kostuba.
What?
Children that kill.
So,
No, it's serious. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. They're horrible, heinous crimes done by children.
okay.
And it's a practice. It's like people have been practicing stuff for lifetimes. Kids just don't turn out how they turn out randomly. And sometimes there's, and making it a bit more happier, a little more chipper, because it's not even 7 o'clock yet. Child saints. There's children who are saints. And we have a whole history in Vedic culture of young.
Who are the great child saints?
Who are the great? Shankara, Madhvacharya, Bhakti Siddhanta, Saraswati Thakur.
Yeah.
Undal.
Undal.
Undal. I don't know anything about Undal, but
Undal
okay.
was the one of the 12 hours.
Sukadev Goswami.
Sukadev Goswami. Okay. Prahlad. 4 Kumars, although they're old.
Yeah, they're old. They don't count. But the idea is like whatever is happening to these kids, it's been a practice from previous life. It's not random. Nothing's random.
Okay, whether they're killing or whether they're they're saintly,
liberating people.
Yeah, and so this verse is did you finish it?
And so then I didn't. So this is a good part of this is what sadhana bhakti is. What is sadhana bhakti? It's our practice, our regular we're practicing to be spiritualists. That's what we do every day. And we show up and we chant some japa, we do some bhajans, we do some pujas, we hear the Bhagavatam, we hear Hari Katha. We are practicing for tomorrow and for next week and for next year and 5 years from now. And the fact that you and I are even on this show doing this today is because we've been practicing it for years and we've developed a taste for it. And you can also develop a taste for material life too. And if we have some little addiction that we're struggling with, we've been practicing it. The whole world is a practice.
Okay.
Let me finish this now.
Yeah.
If one's position is ascertained by a bona fide spiritual master and one is properly trained, practicing, to engage in the service of Lord Vishnu according to the 4 social divisions, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, and then the 4 spiritual divisions, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas, one's life becomes perfect.
There you go. So this is a part that I want to comment on. And, Parmananda on the chat board is mentioning that we were supposed to talk about my encounter with the Seventh-day Adventists that I had on the airplane coming back.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So it's connected to this. So here it's saying, if one's position is ascertained by a bona fide spiritual master and one is properly trained, when it's saying that, it's saying properly trained in accordance with that position. In accordance, and by position, it means one's, you're saying proclivities, right? Or you could say one's, nowadays we would say personality type, right? Because these books are talking about these 4 different personality types. Yeah. So it's saying that the Vedic, it's called Varnashram Dharma. Both are mentioned here. Varna means your occupation in life according to your nature, according to your proclivities. There's 4 different ones.
Sure.
And then ashrama in this context means the stage of life you're in, from a young person to a married person to when married, retired, you could say, and ultimately full renunciation. There's these 4 stages in life. So it's saying here that these people that are born in the earthly realm, this is what the people in the higher planets are saying, right? That when you're born in that earthly realm, if you could just meet someone that's in tune with all this knowledge, they can recognize your proclivities. They can provide the dharma for you, right? Like the duties in life and the practice in life that's just suited for you. And you can perfect your life in this one lifetime. You see, the verses that we're going to read after this, they pretty much wrap up the chapter now. They have to do with the perspective of the beings on the higher planets who have a much more enjoyable life than we do, a much longer life, a life full of pleasures that are way beyond what we're experiencing. It's their perspective of the opportunities that are available to the people here in the earthly realm. And they're saying, look at this. Yeah, granted, they're not enjoying like we are, but actually, they're the fortunate ones because they're at this portal, right? It's like, from our position, there's really not so much getting out of the material world. We've come to that place where you enjoy, you enjoy the results of your good karma. And other people have gone down below the earthly level. They've gone to the place where you suffer, where you pay the price, where you do your time for your bad karma. But the people that are in the earthly realms, they're at the portal. They've got a short life, which would be considered unfortunate, but actually, if everything's there for them, and if they kind of do what Henry was mentioning before in the Henri Bergson in the Nugget, if they kind of get a feeling, yes, something's amiss, let me start looking for answers, let me start to search it out, let me begin my journey of awakening, then with the right guidance, we have the opportunity to break out, to kind of achieve, to free ourselves, you could say, from all the social conditioning that's bound us forever. And so we're going to hear more about that perspective. But you see, when I was on that airplane with this lady, interesting lady, she was young, kind of she was like, kind of black lady with dreadlocks, maybe I'd say in her mid-30s. And she asked me about my book, and it just started this whole conversation, And then I found out, okay, she's a Seventh-day Adventist. She kind of leads youth groups for Seventh-day Adventists.
Sort of like us.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. So we're going back and forth. And then she mentioned, I asked her about something. I forget exactly what it was, but it led her to start talking about personality types.
Huh.
You know, what was that thing that you had a certain personality type, or your ex kind of had me do one at some point where it's 26 questions or something like that? You
I
remember
can't remember. Yeah, I can't
But
remember.
there's some famous personality thing. So she knew all about that, and she was kind of interested in our understanding of this, and I began to discuss a little bit of this Varnashram Dharma. That I think this is so important because a lot of the times the hesitation, part of the people's hesitation to fully embrace bhakti may have to do with what's called the caste system, because we see that there are these antiquated ideas apparently that are being imposed on people and used as tools of oppression and so on. And historically that has happened in India. But we really have to understand what it's all about. And so I was thinking, how is Varnashram Dharma, how is it irrelevant or like unwelcome in our modern day and age? You know, what's the problem with it? And I'd say, well, the problem with it is that it can foster inequality, bias, nepotism, you know, that kind of thing, right? That's the way it got bent.
Right. That's the way it's presented, and that's the way it's actually. Yeah,
If
that's
you're
how the
born in a
caste system
particular
is
family, then you have
manifest.
a particular position with particular privileges, and you impose those on. It doesn't even matter if you have any merit. You know, it became, although it's not written that way in the ancient text.
It's definitively not keeping the main thing the main thing. The main thing is we're all evolving towards God, but it's become used, as you said, like a tool of oppression to one up the other caste.
So it can foster inequality, and it can impose rigid standards that may not fit well into our modern circumstances if it's not carefully applied, if it's not thoughtfully applied, right? So therefore, I get it, why people would be hesitant, why people would reject, why it could turn people away. But what is it? Is there something about it that in this modern day and age, even progressive thinking people could say, you know what? We need a little bit of that. You know, we need a little bit of that in this world.
Explain.
Well, I would say that for the individual, it helps us recognize our strengths, recognize our weaknesses, and adopt standards in our lives that help us evolve. You know, so in short, it helps us understand what is our dharma. What is it that I need to do? What are the duties in life I need to embrace?
That's different than what you just explained. That being born into a particular caste, like my father's a carpenter, now I'm a carpenter, is different than saying, well, what are my proclivities? And I think that's the way a lot of us we were taught to think about it in America. Like you can be whatever you want to be. That's sort of like the ethos or what your parents tell you, or your good parents tell you. But you have a proclivity, and we have this these abilities, and our job is to like find them and use them in God's service. Not that we're just born into a lot in life and there's a very low ceiling. But what we say is the goal isn't just success. Doesn't mean a financial success necessarily. It means that we're using what we do, and we are, and it's tied in with our own dharma and liberation as well. And therefore, the win isn't that I have the newest iPhone or have even the most money. I'm fine with that. It's not economic development, which is the goal. It's spiritual emancipation, which is the goal. So I can be happy. I can be happy in my lot in life with that as the focus. And we understand that even though it may not be, even the people in other social orders may not get the same payoff financially, or et cetera, there can still be success or failure is just by a different metric. Well, for us, we've turned it into a financial metric.
Okay, yeah. My point is that it recognizes, just like, you know, we mentioned personality types, and Bernadette has shared Briggs-Meyer. That was the name of that one.
Briggs-Meyer, yes.
Personality test, and then another popular one is the Enneagram, right?
Yeah. It's been confirmed that I'm a 7, by the way.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Confirmed by who?
A group of people surrounded me the other day.
Yeah, that's
said,
not how
it
works.
7. Who's saying you're a 3? You're a 7.
No, you're a 3. But but in any case, here's the value to those things, and really, it's not about telling other people what they are. It's about understanding what you are. It's about like kind of understanding some. When I looked at the Enneagram, and I'm not trying to go off on how great it is or anything like that, but when I read about my own type, I said, okay, it's pointing out where I'm strong and where I'm weak. That's valuable, and Varnashram Dharma goes so much further, because then it gives you an idea of, okay, what are your duties in life, and what, what your occupation should be like, and what the standards of that should look like. And if you get all of that, it really gives you some powerful direction, some powerful direction for evolution. So that's an individual benefit of Varnashram Dharma. And and on a societal level, it provides, like, if to the degree that society accepts it, it provides standards, shared standards that can. It's really meant to temper. Again, it has to do with strengths and weaknesses, right? Temper the weaknesses. Temper the lower nature, and get the best out of, or cultivate the higher nature in leadership. Specifically, that's what it's designed to do. I think this is just so important. When we look at Varnashram Dharma, it has basically 3 positions in it that are like leaders, and they're identified by leaders because they're not being paid by anyone. They're independent, right? So there's the administration for business, the financial leaders. There's the administration of justice. That's like the political leaders, you could say. And then there's the spiritual leaders. And the spiritual leaders are these people that are supposed to just live such a simple life, and they're deeply absorbed. You can see it in them. You can feel it, when you have someone that's really there, and the clarity that they can speak with, and the fairness that they can apply in their life, because they're so detached, that those people, they're given respect, right? Society together says we have to respect that. Our values are saying that these people are we value these people and what they're sharing, and those people are meant to help curb the lower tendencies in the business leaders and in the political leaders. We do not have that in place in the world today. It's so weak. It's like in America, anyone can run for president, right?
Yeah, you just buy your way in
for Congress or whatever. Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with the backing that you get. What if there were some? Just throwing this out like crazy, and you could point out how difficult it would be to accomplish some of that. But imagine if you had like a university, that was not present. It had no political leanings, but what it did was teach ethics, right? If you're going to become a political leader, you need to go through 4 years of this university. You need to hear, the ethics coming from all the different world traditions. You need to hear from powerful thinkers who understood, the value in caring for others. For instance, so say you had to become a business leader, and the training that you went through, before you could take a position as a CEO or CFO or on any level, you had to go through some ethics training, and it was inspiring training. It got you thinking more deeply about life, so that when you entered into that role, you had a whole background, and a kind of a whole culture that was encouraging you to be ethical. We don't have that in society. It doesn't exist at all. The person with the least ethics can easily rise to high positions, but both in business and in politics. We do not have anything in place, and the broader society can't even figure out what the values are.
What did this have to do with the lady on the plane? You were telling her this?
Asking me about personality types. Yeah, she was asking me about personality types. So we got into Varnashram Dharma.
Okay.
So that's my point. If we can see it through the right lens, it's not just some antiquated, morally, rigid kind of dogma, but it's this brilliant, insightful insights into personality types, and it doesn't just leave it there. then it gives you ideas about how that your personality type should be engaged and how they can all work together for the higher purpose of, specifically designed for the higher purpose of helping us bust out of this portal, right? Helping the entire society together let go of their material conditioning and achieve our our inner nature. That's what it's meant to do. If you have criticisms of it, that's fine. But at least first understand what it is, and then we can talk about whether those criticisms are valid. But if you just look at it on a very surface level and things you've read in a few magazines or whatever, you're not going to really understand what was going on there.
You know, before I heard Prabhupada explain it, I've never heard it explained so well.
Yeah.
Sure. It's just the party line is caste system bad, India backwards. It's just such from a slanted Western point of view.
Yeah.
Okay, here's text 20. After many, many births, when the results of one's pious activities mature, one gets an opportunity to associate with pure devotees. Then one is able to cut the knot of bondage to ignorance. Ooh, I have a knot of bondage to ignorance. I'm knotted to it, which bound him because of varied fruitive activities.
A bunch past.
Yeah. As a result of associating with devotees, one gradually renders service to Lord Vasudeva, who is transcendental, free from attachment to the material world. Yeah. Beyond the mind and words and independent of everything else. That bhakti yoga, devotional service to Lord Vasudeva, is the real path of liberation.
Okay, so just a touch of context again. The residents of the higher planets are looking at the people on Earth and saying, what an opportunity they got. Because they have the books that explain how one can cultivate their higher nature.
They've got the skeleton key.
They got the skeleton key. They can do it under the guidance of wise people. And they also have the opportunity to meet devotees where something can go much deeper, where this is important too, where it's from another devotee that lights it lights that your inner nature up. It's kind of like activates it, right? The bhakti is there in us, but someone comes along, they activate it. Right, and that changes everything. So they're saying on the higher planets where we're enjoying like crazy, we've got what everybody wants. You know, everybody down in the earthly realm, they're just wishing they could be living like we're living. But actually, our devotion, it doesn't get ignited. The possibility for that is so slim here because the enjoyment is is on such a high level. But those people on Earth, where there's just the right balance of like enjoyment and suffering, it can lead one to think more deeply about life. And if they can meet the right devotee, it can ignite it. It can activate the devotion that's within. And they're going to go into that more now in these verses.
So here's text 21. Since the human form of life is the sublime position for spiritual realization.
And by human, they mean the earthly human form of life.
All the demigods in heavens speak in this way.
They say,
how wonderful it is these human beings get to have been born in the land of Varsh. They must have executed pious activities of austerity in the past, or the Supreme Personality of God in himself must have been pleased with them. Otherwise, how could they engage in bhakti, devotional service, in so many ways? We demigods can only aspire to achieve human births in Varsh, to execute devotional service, but these human beings are already engaged there.
So
Interesting.
Thinking, yeah, I've got a long stretch of enjoyment to go through here before I can even. It's kind of like I went out to the Bahamas and I got stuck there and I realized actually people back in New York have all these different opportunities and I'm missing out on it. I got to sit here and enjoy for the next year before I can go back.
Well, sometimes we can also, when things are real easy, we can also forget about the priorities in life. We can forget or take things for granted. The demigods' lives are sort of wrinkle-free, pain-free, extended lives. They don't have the pinch of material existence. and they see these humans like, wow, they can get it in this lifetime. It becomes like a very good opportunity. They're not totally destitute, like in some painful planets or lower planets. And sometimes when you see sometimes people who have sometimes a silver born with a silver spoon in their mouth or a golden spoon in their mouth, they don't take things very seriously because life can be very easy. We're somewhere in the middle, and in the middle, we get dealt to us maybe on a regular basis good fortune and bad fortune, love, heartbreak, wealth, lose your wealth. And in that, you know, middle path,
Yeah.
that middle state of existence, we can experience like, you know what? It's the material world. Oftentimes I throw my hands up, that's the material world. What the hell? You know, and in that it gives us a little pinch to go further to as our nugget said today. You know what? I don't want to fall in line. There's got to be more to this than the payoff that the material world is promising or that commercials have hyped it up to be. There's got to be something more substantial here. We're in a very good place to dig deeper.
They're going to continue now.
Okay. The demigods are still talking. After performing the very difficult task of executing Vedic ritualistic sacrifices, undergoing austerities, observing vows, and giving charity, we have achieved this position as inhabitants of heavenly planets.
Okay, so
But
they
what is
did a
the
lot of
value?
good karma. They cultivated a lot of good karma to get there.
Yeah. But what's the value of this achievement? Here, we are certainly very engaged in material sense gratification, and therefore we can hardly remember the lotus feet of Narayan, right? It's too good.
Yeah.
Indeed, because of our excessive sense gratification, we have almost forgotten his lotus feet. That's the problem with sense gratification. We can forget about reality, and we can just live in our dream. You know, we call it, what do we call that? We live in an ivory tower. Text 23, a short life in the land of Bhartvarsh is preferable to a life achieved in Brahmaloka for millions and billions of years. Because even if one is elevated to Brahmaloka, he must return to repeated birth and death. Right?
Yeah,
So
there's no portal. There's no portal out.
Yeah. This reminds us of the verse in the Gita, Brahma Bhuvana Loka, from the highest planet in the material world to the lowest planet. They're all temporary, where repeated birth and death take place. Right? Nateju Brahmate Buddha. Right? Those who are actually intelligent, they're not interested in any of the planets. You know, and if you don't believe in this, because sometimes that might sound too far-fetched, what is he talking about, Brahmaloka? Even in this world, analyze our lives. Big deal. We get to go here. We get to go there. We save a little money. We got some money in the bank. I drive a better sport package or a sport trim of my car than a regular. Big deal. Big deal. That's what material life is trying to get a little better trim package on our vehicles, or we try to get a slightly bigger house or a better piece of real estate. Or it all ends up is like from the highest planet, it's all temporary anyway. We're going to have to give up. And these are the people, the spiritualists are thinking, what is the purpose behind all this stuff anyway? Whether I'm eating on silverware, goldware, or using my hands to eat, what's the big deal anyway?
You know,
we're all going to live. We're all going to die in a matter of moments.
Even in this, on Earth, we see that people that have the karma, that have all the things that people desire, like they got lots of money, lots, sex is available to them, lots of property, fame, whatever it may be, they get there and they're still not happy. And so these devas, it sounds like they're like that, they're like, you know what, we did all that we needed to do to get to this position. And now that we're in this position, we're saying actually those people that don't have it are more fortunate than us. Because they suffer in life, they're more prone to say, what do I need to become free? And the tools for them to become free are right there. So they're at the portal. We'll sit here for millions of years, in these higher planets and never able to get out. I'd rather live a short little life, even if there's suffering involved, if I have the opportunity to become free. And earthly realm is the portal.
All our assets become like a burden to us if we're not using them in devotional service. All of our assets become I mean, think of what was an asset. It's a huge, like, for example, we live on this big property here. It's only good because right now we have 16-year-old or 16-year-olds staying upstairs. This house feels fully complete because all these kids from Alachua are here. And then we have a teacher training going on in the other
big
house.
Clubhouse going on over
It's
there.
a big clubhouse here. There's so many people. Caroline Pitts is here, rolling over the couch. Live shows up. We got yoga class going on in the yoga studio. But truthfully, if I was just to live here with a few kids, 2 kids, 3 kids, I'd feel like this is exhausting. It becomes a burden. Our assets become a burden unless they're used in bhakti. Like every day, me and Mara like to walk to Chant Shop. I've taken you there. There's this house up the road. It looks like you're walking by Govardhan Hill. Have I taken you to Govardhan Hill yet? What I call Govardhan Hill?
No.
Oh my God, I got to take him to Govardhan Hill. It's like this incredible property. And I look at this, I was like, beautiful barns and beautiful house, beautiful outbuildings. And it's got this hill that looks just like Govardhan Hill. It's unbelievable. And this property is so massive and beautiful stone walls. And I think to myself, I would love just to take over this property and bring hundreds of devotees here for a festival. It's like, but excuse me, hi, these are my friends, and we're going to walk around your hill.
Just want to let you know, your hill right there, it really reminds us of something special to us.
We always joke like, honey, there's a bunch of people outside worshiping the hill. Some people are bowing down 108 times there. I can't. Now they're pouring milk on the hill. Anyway, my point is, what a burden that must be. It must be a person who has so much wealth just to maintain that property is exhausting, or so much wealth, but how much can you actually enjoy it? Like even on this property, it's not super big, but I know every inch of this property. I walk the property on a regular basis. I know all the trees on the property. I know all the stones on this property. I know everything about, like, how much can you do that when you get vast amounts of property and you're just one person or 5 people or 3 people? We got to take all these assets we have, engage them in bhakti, and it purifies the assets as well. Or else they become a heavy burden that we lug around and create more worry in our life. What do you think?
I agree. I agree. And I also think that we're out of time today.
Oh, wow. Sorry.
Time for a takeaway.
I was rambling. Lord, I was born a rambling man, trying to make a living and doing the best
we almost got through an entire show without that.
When it turned, I hope you understand. Mara, I was born a rambling man. Okay, where are we at?
Takeaways.
Okay, take my mic.
All right. Follow your heart, not the crowd.
Yeah.
Choose
What if
to
it's a
cultivate.
good crowd going in a good direction? Then you want to
That's
follow the
true.
crowd.
Yeah.
Follow the good crowd.
Okay.
Narayani went to Govardhan Hill, she said. Yes.
Are you gonna read the chat board during my takeaways?
Yeah, you see? Huh?
Just checking. Choose to cultivate and engage knowledge over ignorance and reflect upon it.
Too long for a t-shirt, but I like it.
Seek the Sangha.
Ooh, t-shirt.
Keep your prayers alive and mindful.
Very good. Yes.
Staying alive.
Proclivities are previous life practices.
Mm-hmm.
You like that?
I like it.
We're practicing to be spiritualists.
All righty.
Cut the knot of bondage to ignorance.
But the knot.
Ignite devotion.
Ignite.
Suffering can provide our tools and opportunity for freedom.
But I don't want to suffer.
And
Gonna be good, Mara.
it's a special month for a truckload of bhakti broccoli.
Ooh, yes. Double coupons. Buy one, get one free. Purushottama Mas. Thank you for joining us, people. Every day. Srimad Bhagavatam every day. We're going to chant right now. Caroline Pitts, you can join us. We're going to chant chapter 15 of the Bhagavad Gita for this auspicious month. Thanks for joining us.
Let's make it a
If
good
you like
month.
what we're doing, go to Apple Podcasts, write us a review. Go to YouTube, comment, like, subscribe, follow, share. Share this stuff. It's so easy to tell a friend. You don't have to go to an airport distributing a Bhagavad Gita. You could just press share, and you can share with like 1 million people on your contact list. What do you think about that? The Brihat Mridanga is social media. Now you can spread this transcendental sound all over by just hitting the share buttons. Thanks everybody for joining us. If you like what we're doing, you can support us by going to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. It makes a big difference by your monthly contribution. This is a community-supported podcast, and if you can't give financial resources, you could just send cases of broccoli to me and Kostuba. Thanks everybody for joining us. It's a beautiful day for a beautiful day. I got teacher training going here, so I'm going to cut out early. Let the magic continue to flow, Shirad. Hey.